Good morning, YouTube. Oh, we got Yoda. Yoda's keeping an eye on things. It's going to be a quick overview for these mounts that I drew up the other day. Seem to be working really well on this Anycubic Ai3 Mega. Got this really inexpensively. Somebody in a town south of me had it listed brand new in the box. Bought it for $100. They bought it and couldn't figure out how to use it, put it together, etc. There's a lot more to it than they thought. So I use this to print out. So far she's run, that's all the parts for a MP CNC, mostly printed CNC. A couple of spools. Quite happy with it. Its performance. Very simple to put together. Literally, all you have to do is bolt it together. Comes in two pieces. Just the base and the top. And you have to plug in a few cables. That's about it. The only upgrades that I've done to it are so far had to change out the extruder gear. These are just gears that I print so that way I can see the extruder moving. It's from an old file. Normally I feed them off my basil rollers here, but right now, well, that's on a basil roller, but it's not in the dry box because I'm just running out this spool of gold for this particular print. And the way that it worked out, I've seen a couple of setups like this, but I took and went into Fusion, measured these out, and basically came up with this guy right here. Works best in TPU. I did have a camera mount made out of the hard plastic, and it did snap on here fairly well. The camera is the PlayStation Eye. These things are cheap, and they seem to work very well with the Rasperri Pi B+. You can see this mount. Flexible, you won't break it, but it doesn't bounce around. There's the view of it. So there's two different sizes. This part and this part are off by about 5 millimeters. So there's a side clamp and a top clamp. You can print as many of these as you need. This is cut open, and I took the power off of here. This is just a data cable now. Very easy to do. Cut open any connector and simply cut the red wire. Leave the other 3 wires. That'll turn a USB cable into a data cable only. What I did then was run that right up the side. This won't be in the way. Now, from a measurement standpoint, even though this dual access has got a cover on it, this should clear it. But there's really no reason to put any up here on the top, any along the side. And there's a couple extra ones up here only because I printed them 2 at a time on an Ender 3. Rasperri Pi B+ running Octoprint. And on this side, you've got the nice cable management. Put holes in this mount, so that way you easily zip tie all the rest of the PlayStation Eye cabling. Now, Magic Goo. If you don't use this, about once a week on each one of the printer beds, what I do is I actually mix this half and half with water in the first place. It lasts for a very long time. And we'll just put a little bit on there and wipe it around with a wet paper towel, and then dry it off with a dry paper towel. Very, very simple. So this is this is the mount. Let's get a better picture here. Here's the first Rasperri Pi mount. If you look on the back side of this mount, you'll see a built-in cable management on here also on the back side, so that way we can keep the cables secure. And all this does, just snap right in here, of course. All this does is snap on here like this. And down. TPU's got just enough give where I can get over that lip and put that on there. That's not going anywhere. So there's these two straps. You need two of the straps for the Pi. And then as many as you'd like on the sides, but really two side ones on each side work perfectly. Then at least one, probably two on the top. And I'm going to glue these up. The cable just snaps right in there. Very simple. Using the bezel rollers. Link in the description. That's the roller outside of the dry box. Now I've made a brand new file for this. There's a brand new version, version 9 of the bezel roller that I printed out at 0.6 layer height with a 1mm nozzle in PLA and PLA Plus. And that set then, the bearings, the bearing adapters, and the side plates, both, that only takes a couple hours, 2.5 hours to print out the whole thing. And then I cut these pieces out of PVC, because why print that if we could buy it for $2 for 10 feet of it. I'm going to switch over to this silk copper here in a minute, about halfway through this, just to make this a dual. I'm just running this out right now. If you have any questions about this, I don't use this touch panel. I find it to be pretty simple. There's not a lot of control. I use the control of the Octoprint running on the B+. Just put the B+ then on your network, and you can find it, and in a couple different ways. There's plenty of videos on that. PlayStation Eye camera gives you a great view of the print head, and which is really what you need to see. And that's printing out at I think 0.3 layer with a 0.4 nozzle. The CR10s all have 1.0 nozzles on them. I like printing at 0.6. But this particular file is a little fidget cube, an open fidget cube, and we'll see how it turns out. Real happy with the Anycubic i3 Mega. Very simple. The only maintenance I've had to do to it so far was, this should be Capricorn. I've got Capricorn on all the other printers. I just ran out of it. I replaced this Bowden tube right away. I replaced this fitting and this fitting immediately when I got it with some higher quality fittings. And literally, that's all I've had to do with this over, it's probably had 3 or 4 kilograms of material run through it so far. Got any questions, comments, suggestions? Leave them below. You can like and subscribe. And you got a bunch of oddball videos on here from, you know, all sorts of different things. Let me know. Have a wonderful day. Or, I hope you have a wonderful day. No, I can't do a good Yoda impression.